From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Explosives off the streets.
Whatever chemicals or whatever's inside of it, it blows apart.
After a massive search this week,
Everything so far has worked out exactly how we planned it.
police believe they have the man responsible for creating these combusting tinfoil balls behind bars. Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Thursday, October 12th. I'm Augusta McDonald. This morning, we now know why the Billings Police Department shut down Highway 312 and needed the bomb squad to conduct a massive search earlier this week. The Heights property belonged to 57-year-old James Coleman, now charged with placing these explosive devices on Billings roadways. Neighbors in the area tell us they would often hear loud firework-like blasts coming from the area. Coleman's land has 2 residential buildings, explaining why the search took several hours. Coleman is also facing drug charges, which neighbors say is not a surprise to them. They would often hear numerous people coming and going late at night from that property. We first told you about these explosives in the streets back in September, described as small tinfoil balls that made a loud pop when run over by a vehicle. A police officer ran one over on June 7th while chasing a suspect downtown. At that time, we spoke to a woman who hit one driving northbound on Division Street. She told us she thought she popped a tire but was surprised to see no damage at all to her vehicle.
The noise was so loud and startling that when I got out of my car and saw my tire intact, I thought I was losing my mind.
Of the at least 7 official complaints filed with the department about these explosives, no injuries or damage to vehicles were reported. So far, police have not said what was inside the tinfoil to make them explode. Brand new statistics show opioid addiction rates in Montana are now higher than the national average. As Q2's Kelsey Boggs reports, the numbers are even more concerning on the Crow Reservation.
According to the 2023 Montana DPHHS opioid use fact sheet, the percentage of those aged 12 and older who report misusing opioid pain relievers is higher than the national average. In the U.S., it's at 3.4%. Here in Montana, 3.9%.
The people who are poisoning our communities know that and are preying on that.
It's a statewide epidemic.
It's so easy to get.
According to the Montana Department of Health and Human Services, opioid use is the primary driver of drug overdose deaths in the state of Montana. But it's a problem even more prevalent in the state's indigenous communities.
There's just so much of it and there's too much demand.
On Tuesday, a Lodgegrass woman admitted to trafficking meth and fentanyl in a multi-state drug ring centered on the Crow Reservation. Just the most recent arrest for a crime that happens almost daily.
This was at multiple locations that we pursued late last summer, dedicated a lot of resources to it.
Montana's U.S. Attorney, Jesse Laslovich, is on a mission to combat the problem. He says one common denominator on the Crow Reservation is a group known as spear sighting.
We have a variety of those cases connected to spear sighting. It's not a business. It's a drug trafficking organization that we are attempting to bring down.
But criminal prosecution is just one part of the solution. The National Indian Board of Health is also taking aim at the problem, now giving away free boxes of naloxone, or Narcan, to tribes nationwide, thanks to money from a global opioid litigation settlement. Tribes are eligible to receive free boxes of the emergency opioid overdose medication each year for 10 years. And boxes will be shipped to a tribal pharmacy, Indian Health Services, or a recipient designated by the tribe.
It's quick and easy to use and it's saving lives. We tell everybody it should be part of your first aid kit.
Jay Steichman is a prevention specialist at Riverstone Health in Billings, which also offers Narcan to anyone free of charge. It's a multi-pronged solution to a problem that impacts so many on a daily basis.
Give us a call. We'll get it to you for no cost.
I think we're making progress. Is there more to be done? No question, and we're looking forward to doing that work.
For more information on how to apply for the free naloxone, visit the full story on our website. In Billings, I'm Kelsey Boggs for MTN News.
Kelsey, thank you. We'll continue to follow all of these stories. But for now, Jason, we've got some rain on the way and rain happening in parts of our area.
Yeah, we have rain. We've already had some around Miles City, Livingston, Glasgow, Glendive, even Sydney and Wolf Point. Sheridan getting rain. Same thing with Cody. Now, we had rain last night around Billings. Now it's just an overcast sky, but we also had some decent amounts of rain thus far, and we're expecting more. For Billings, yesterday we had a high of 65, a little bit above average after a warmer than average low, and only dropped down to 50. And we also had 0.16 of an inch of rain, still doing really well already for the month of October. Over 2/3 of an inch of rain thus far. And for the year, look at that, 3.41 inches above average. So currently, we still have that same overcast sky, 48 degrees. Thankfully, not quite as gusty as it was earlier, but still wind out of the north at 15 miles an hour. And everybody still having lots of clouds. Most of that rain extending from Miles City as well as Jordan southwestward toward the Beartooth and the Bighorn. So please drive carefully in the mountains. We have snow there right now with winter storm warnings, and we also have more chances for rain later this morning and early in the afternoon.
All right, Jason, thank you. And we want to say thank you to everybody who woke up early this morning. Our programming seems to be working, so that means they unplugged and plugged some things back in.
Somebody just kicked the plug out.
Yes, we really appreciate it. Things seem to be going well. Now to our news headlines this morning. A doctor is speaking out against the upcoming closure of the only clinic in Billings, offering treatment to patients suffering from chronic pain. Our Haley Monaco has this story.
There are still many unanswered questions surrounding the recent announcement of the upcoming closure of the Billings Pain Center. But for the first time, we're hearing from a primary care provider who fears what the closure will mean.
It's scary. And we do have reservations about doing it.
The Billings Pain Center, the only pain clinic in our region, is set to close in January 2024 with no explanation. It's forcing patients to work with their primary care provider for guidance regarding pain management, something they're not necessarily trained for.
Pain management is a specialty that is just like any other specialty. We have cardiologists for people that have heart problems. We have pain management for people who have severe pain outside of what we can handle in primary care.
Dr. Cole Whitmoyer runs Flex Family Health Direct. The 3 providers at his clinic see many patients, but not nearly as many as a primary care provider at a hospital does. One of Whitmoyer's fears from the closure is simply not enough time to work with a patient.
We have 1,300 for 3 providers. A provider at St. V's or Billings Clinic has 2,000, 2,500 patients. You're managing a bunch of people with pain in there. I mean, you're having to see people so quickly.
According to the Billings Pain Center's website, they treat a variety of things from addiction and withdrawal, back and nerve pain to cancer-related pain.
There's a lot of people out there that need help and they need this management of their pain.
But in a statement on Monday, St. Vincent Healthcare, which manages the Billings Pain Center, says primary care providers are exactly who should be directing this kind of treatment, saying in part, "This change underscores our belief in the importance of a direct and integrated approach to pain management where the care journey is between the patient and their primary care provider." St. V's has declined to provide the total number of patients that will be impacted from the closure, but Billings Clinic alone has 1,500 patients utilizing the pain center services. Now, with the services short-lived, Whitmoyer is terrified of what it will mean not only for the patients, but the providers.
300 to 400 physicians commit suicide every year. When you're thinking about prescribing a pain medicine and what might happen with that medicine, and if you're responsible for what happens with that, it is scary. You're just putting something on the shoulders of people that already have, huge weights on them. So
in Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Haley, thank you. We'll continue to follow that story. There will be no school in Wyola today for the 4th consecutive day. We've been following this all week. Bighorn County Superintendent of Schools John Small told Q2 yesterday that school would be open today. Then the Wyola District posted on their Facebook page a few hours later that school would be canceled today. So we're not sure where that miscommunication came in. These closures appear to be related to a protest last week from parents claiming staff is abusing their children. Our reporters continue to follow this story. We'll be down there today. The district and the state have not confirmed why school is closed. At least 2,400 are confirmed dead in Israel and Gaza as more airstrikes shake that region this morning. The White House now says at least 22 Americans are among the dead, and officials warn that number could continue to climb. CBS's Chanel Call brings us the latest on this conflict.
6 days since the surprise attack from Hamas militants, Israel continues striking Gaza. Around 300,000 Israeli troops are now positioned near the Gaza Strip. Among them, reservists mobilized from countries around the world, including the U.S.
We just want to go back, bring the peace as soon as possible.
Overnight, the Israeli national anthem was sung from balconies in Holon, while Gaza was thrown into darkness after the region's only power plant ran out of fuel. Hospitals there now relying on generators, with the humanitarian crisis growing. Yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to wipe Hamas off the map. He and his top political rival have now formed an emergency wartime cabinet.
Silence is complicity.
At a White House roundtable with Jewish leaders, President Biden said he issued a warning to Iran, which has given money and weapons to Hamas for years.
Made it clear to the Iranians, be careful.
The president also said his administration is working to help get Americans out. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is now on the ground in Israel to discuss further military assistance and the hostage situation. The State Department issuing an advisory warning Americans not to travel to Israel. Chanel Call, CBS News.
This morning, former President Donald Trump is facing backlash from members of his own party after he criticized the Israeli intelligence for failing to stop the Hamas attacks. Back in Montana, we've got some great news this morning. A hiker who went missing outside a Red Lodge over the weekend has been found alive. 18-year-old Nathan Cecila was located yesterday afternoon. He had been missing since Sunday, last seen camping at Broadwater Lake on the Lake Fork Trail. Red Lodge Fire and Rescue officials say they'll provide some more information about Nathan's condition and the search soon, so we're glad to see that. Montana is joining 9 other states in a lawsuit against the federal government over a new policy that could lead to drastic increases in the cost of flood insurance. Q2's Phil Van Pelt has more details.
Depending on your proximity to a body of water or the type of loan that you have, you could be required to have flood insurance, but it soon could be on its way to becoming unaffordable.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
Mike Kinsey lost everything last year when his house was swept into the Yellowstone River. He didn't have flood insurance and was left to restart from the ground up.
I'm really losing hope.
Now the process of obtaining flood insurance may be even more difficult in the future. Montana is one of 10 states suing the federal government over rate hikes in the National Flood Insurance Program, administered by FEMA, that could see rates skyrocket up to 700%. Those states recently asked a federal judge to put the hikes on hold. No decision has been made yet. In coastal regions like Florida and Louisiana, it could make running a business or owning property in a floodplain an impossibility. But impacts can be felt even here in the landlocked Treasure State.
Development in certain areas of the floodplain is okay, but in certain areas it's really not. It's not the best choice.
Tim Miller is the floodplain administrator for the city of Billings. He believes last year's floods are the biggest reason Montana is a part of this lawsuit.
Property loss, business loss, all kinds of losses. So I think that was probably one of the biggest reasons that Montana decided to jump into this.
But is flood insurance a big concern in Montana? The state saw just 591 claims made to the National Flood Insurance Program from 2010 to 2022, and just 89 of those were in Yellowstone County.
Less than 5% of our total customer base in the area here probably have flood insurance active at the moment.
So why did Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen decide to join the lawsuit? He says it comes down to a procedural matter. Quote, in fundamentally changing how it calculates rates for flood insurance, FEMA bypassed nearly every requirement under law. Whatever the reason, climate scientists argue that no matter where you live, things like flood insurance could become a necessity.
It's a really big issue that can impact anyone at any given moment. And so when you have those huge catastrophic weather events like that, being near a body of water is almost inevitable to be impacted by a weather event like that to some degree.
In Billings, Phil Van Pelt, MTN News.